This video is going to be all about the difference between hard money lending and private money lending. Hey guys, this video is going to be all about the difference between hard money lending and private money lending. Okay, so hard money lending is typically going to be a business, an institution. It is a company that is set up and designed specifically to lend money to real estate investors, flippers, landlords, so on and so forth. They typically set the terms. There's not a whole lot of negotiation that's going to be allowed in those, in that lending environment. The rates are going to typically be between 12 and 14%, and there could be points on both the front end and the back end of those loans. Hard money isn't hard to get. The reason it's called hard money is because the borrower is lending on a hard asset. Now, they still might require you to fill out an application and run your credit and make sure you have minimum capital requirements before they lend you money on the particular property. They also are most likely going to want to go view the property and vet the deal and make sure that the deal is in fact a deal. The amount that they are going to lend is gonna vary between companies, right? Each company might have a different set of requirements. Some companies are gonna lend 70% of the purchase price and 100% of the rehab, or up to. Other companies might lend 100% of the purchase price and none of the rehab. Other companies might lend 100% of the purchase price and 50 to 70% of the rehab. It's gonna vary, but you're gonna get most of the purchase price and some, if not all, of the rehab costs as well. So again, to recap, hard money is an institution. It's a company that's designed to lend to investors like yourself, okay? It's gonna be a little bit more expensive, 12, 14, maybe even 15 or 16%. There could be points, okay? They're vetting both you and the deal that you are trying to buy, all right? I love working with hard money lenders. I've borrowed from hard money lenders dozens and dozens of times. Don't worry about the interest rate, because without you having the money, you can't do the deal. So what if you're paying 14, 16%, all right? It doesn't matter. If you can go make 20, 30, 40, 50 grand on a deal and you're paying the hard money lender 6, 8, 10, so what? You're still gonna get to keep the difference there. All right. Now, switching gears, what is a private money lender and how is it different from a hard money lender? Well, like I had stated, with the hard money lender, it's a company that's designed to lend. On the other hand, a private money lender isn't necessarily a company. It could be in theory, but it's not typically. It's more so a private relationship that you have with a friend, an acquaintance, could be a grandma, could be a cousin, could be an uncle, could just be another investor in your city. They're not typically going to have a business designed to lend. It's more of a private relationship. That's why it's called private money. So sometimes people say, Dave, would you mind sharing your private money lenders with me? And it's like, not really, unfortunately, because I'm not trying to connect my uncle or my cousin or my great aunt with, somebody that they don't know. They're not going to typically feel comfortable lending. Whereas on the other hand, a hard money lender, I'm happy to share with anybody and everybody, because you can most likely Google them and find them anyway. But you're not going to find my great aunt on Google offering to lend money. It's more of a private relationship. So we talked about the interest rates and the points with the hard money. It's going to be more most of the time. With the private money, it's really going to be up for negotiation, right? Hard money, they're typically going to set the rate, set the points, set the terms. With the private money, you have the opportunity to kind of set or pitch those terms to the investor, to the lender. So if it's your great aunt Sue, you can say, hey, great aunt Sue, how do you feel about 8% or 9% or 10%? Great aunt Sue might not even know that points could be collected. So you might not even have that. And they may lend you the money for 6 months, a year, 5 years in some cases. Hard money typically is going to be shorter. Now, I've done hard money loans that have gone 6 months, and I've done hard money loans that have gone a year. And in fact, I've even had a hard money loan go beyond a year. It was probably 14 or 15 months, and I got an extension. But with hard money, if you go beyond, you're going to typically be penalized. You're going to have a higher interest rate, maybe even points, so on and so forth. With the private money, it's a private deal. It's a private relationship. It's a private agreement. It's not going to be on Google. It's not going to necessarily require you to have liens, promissory notes, or deeds of trust. Now, I recommend that you do those things, but it's not necessarily going to require you have that type of paperwork in place. When you're using a hard money, you can bet your butt that you are going to typically have a mortgage and a deed and a promissory note with that lender. So guys, the difference is quite different. At the end of the day, they're both lenders. They're both going to help you get in and out of deals. And without their help, you might not be able to otherwise do the deal. So I love working with private money lenders. I love working with hard money lenders. Now, private money lenders, really quickly, just to kind of wrap up here, might not have unlimited resources, right? They may have 50 grand, 100 grand, 500 grand, maybe even as much as, $1 million or so, which is amazing. Most of the hard money lenders that I work with typically have at least 10 to 20 million, at least, to lend. Some of them have hundreds of millions of dollars. So I typically choose to work with private money lenders on my smaller deals under maybe 100, 150 grand, because I'm going to be able to get better terms, no points or low points, as well as a lower interest rate. But sometimes if I'm going to go buy an apartment building or a big commercial building that might cost $500,000 or $1 million or $2 million, my private money lenders might not be a good resource for me because they might not have enough. Then I switch gears and I go with my hard money lenders. So the differences are quite different, but at the end of the day, they're still going to provide value to you by lending you on the deal. One more thing I do want to add to the private money is you're not typically going to have an application. My great aunt Sue, hypothetical person here, isn't going to ask me to fill out an application. My great aunt Sue's not going to typically want to run my credit, right? It's going to be just an easier relationship with your private money lenders. Hard money, they're going to probably want to look at your taxes. Maybe not, but sometimes they're going to want to look at your capital requirements and make sure you have a minimum of $10,000, $15,000 on hand, as a backup. They're going to want you to fill out an application. They're going to want to know if you've done any other deals. They're going to maybe ask for references, right? So the difference between the two is quite different, but both of them can be a great resource. So I get asked this question all the time, Dave, what's the difference between hard money and private money? And that's really it. Hard money isn't hard to get. It's lent on a hard asset. That's kind of a good way to summarize this up. And it's more of an institution or a company that's designed and has a website and they market their business. Whereas private money could be a relative, a friend, an acquaintance, and it's more of just a private relationship. People aren't typically going to be sharing their private relationships for private money with you. You can go create your own. Whereas hard money, you can easily find on Google. So hopefully that helps clarify the difference between hard money and private money. Thanks, guys.